Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. Funding for Chautauqua Sunrise is provided in part by the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency, with offices in Jamestown and Dunkirk, helping businesses to prosper throughout Chautauqua County. From supporting people with disabilities to enjoy great lives to providing health care services that are available to anyone, the Resource Center has been improving our county for more than 60 years. Learn more about how the Resource Center makes a positive difference in people's lives.
Is getting vaccinated on your to-do list? We can help you check it off because we make getting vaccinated easy. You've got this because we've got you. To learn more, visit yougotthis.usaging.org.
From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Doc Hamels, and welcome to Chautauqua Sunrise. I hope you're all doing well and in the holiday spirit. Woo! It's the first day of winter. Congratulations, we made it to another season. Justin, you were in summertime down in Florida.
Yes.
Was it nice and warm down there?
Yes.
Weren't you glad to come back?
No.
Well, we had winter, spring, summer, and fall, it seems like, in the last couple of weeks here, and now we're back to winter. It's going to be a cold weekend, but it's winter, officially. And I want to dispel a little myth that today is the shortest day of the year. People always say it's the shortest day of the year. Well, that's not exactly true. Every day is the same amount of minutes and hours. It's the least amount of daylight. I think it was like 7:20, and it was still dark when Brody and I were running around outside. And But the good news, Justin, I have the best news in the whole world. Do you know what tomorrow is? The second shortest day of daylight. It's going to get. Well, you can sleep, but tomorrow daylight gets longer. So we're over the hump now. So things are looking up. Whew! I know it's hard this time of year. We're like hibernating and it's dark and we get kind of. But turn on the lights in the house. That's what I do, and kind of get you pepped up. If you just use one light in the house, it just seems like you're kind of down and depressed. So anyways, and then they talk about the winter blues. Don't do that. Get outside, get some exercise, turn on the lights, eat lots of vitamin C and stuff. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Want to do a shout out to my friends in the Ukraine. You know what that means. Hang in there. If James is in Kenya watching, James, good morning down there in Africa. I don't know what the temperatures are down there. I don't know if it's winter, spring, or fall down there. We'll just say hello. How's that? Okay, for those of you that are listening on WRFA 107.9, low power to the people out of Jamestown, thanks for joining me at Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. We got a great show in store for you today. I have a local author, and we're going to be talking about a genre of books that's a little different than we have in the past. So stay tuned. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see, what else I got to talk to you about. I did that. Oh, yeah. I want to remind you that there's still a lot of doings going on throughout the county and the region, across the PA line, up in towards Erie County and Buffalo. We had the guys from the Hofbräu House in Buffalo. Their Christmas market still continues for another weekend. I know that they're having a lot of fun up there, and just all kinds of doings. I'll be talking about a few other little things here in a minute that are going on locally. I hope you're getting your Christmas trees up and the house decorated, and well, I have to confess, I've got presents I have to wrap yet, but generally I do that like the day before Christmas. Then I got things organized in my mind. My wife and my daughter, it looks like North Pole Central at our house. There's one room just full of presents, and they're all stacked up by who gets what and everything. So I have to do a shout out to the ladies in my life. They're doing a great job keeping things organized. I'm not very good at that. So let's see here. I ran across the statement recently, and I want to just say happy holidays to everybody, and say, why you say happy holidays and not Merry Christmas? Because a lot of my friends share different holidays. And when you've been in this TV business all these years, I've made a lot of friends, and some people celebrate this holiday, some people do that way. So I don't care. Happy holidays, everyone, however you celebrate it, okay? Be safe, have fun, get together with your families, and just enjoy time together. Now, I have something I want to share with you that Chuck Kelsey, our studio manager, sent me. He said I might want to use this. And this is actually from the newspaper. A writer, Ann Swanson from Russell, Pennsylvania, her article is, well, okay, just a minute, is called from Hickory Heights, and I'll get to that in a minute. I guess I have a phone call right off the bat, so good morning, caller.
Good morning, Doc. I am currently, I wanted to let you know I wasn't at the studio today, and that's because Dad and Justin left me in Miami.
They left you in Miami?
I've made my way back to New York City, and I'll be training into Buffalo tonight.
Are you walking? What are you doing?
No, I took the Amtrak train.
I knew that. Are you enjoying the Amtrak?
Oh yeah, no, it's always very fun.
Yeah,
I've taken 2 so far, and I've got 1 more to go.
All right. So you're eating on the train and sleeping on the train and all that stuff?
Yep, we slept on the train, and then we had dinner in the dining cars, and then last night I was in Washington, D.C., and I don't know if Jeff has it, but I sent a picture. I stopped and saw the National Christmas tree.
Oh, cool.
Which is right there in front of the White House, and between that and the Washington Monument. So.
Okay, Jeff says he didn't get the picture at this point. Maybe.
That's all right.
Okay.
All righty, well, I'll just let you know why I wasn't here because my dad and brother left me in Miami, so I have to train all the way back. But I will be back next week.
All right, well, Chris, have a great time. What a great adventure riding a train from Miami to Buffalo. I've done the Rocky Mountain trains up in Canada with my wife, the glass dome train, and that was a lot of fun. And I used to do the Buffalo to Albany train when I was working, through BOCES in the state and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, much like everything else, every train is packed because it is the busy holiday season rush. So.
All right. Well, Chris, you have a great holiday, and we'll see you at the end of the year.
All righty. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for calling. Well, that was Chris, our director of our show here, Cuthbert, somewhere on a train. Where did he say he was? New York City. So Grand Central Station is really cool. All right, let's get back to what I was going to share here. So this is from Ann Swanson, and I got to do a little introduction to this. This is all about the 12 days of Christmas, okay? And evidently there's some meaning behind it. And a lot of these songs from Christmas time have like a hidden meaning behind it. And this particular song, I tried to sing all the time at Christmas time when I was growing up and with our family. And to my great delight, my mother really hated the song. And so we always took every opportunity to sing it for her. She goes, I just don't like that song. I go, well, let's do 12 Days of Christmas. In fact, I used to like to bug my mother so much that I actually rewrote the song for their 50th anniversary. I can't remember the name of the song, but I wrote all the lyrics that recorded their lives together for 50 years to this tune. And of course, by that point, she was really enjoying the humor behind it all. But let me tell you the secret behind this. So here we go. This is from Ann Swanson. She writes for the Post-Journal, and it's from Hickory Heights, her column. All right, so this will take a couple minutes, but I'll do the best I can. The gifts in the song related to the time between Christ's birth and the Epiphany. The first gift was a partridge, which is, as you know, a bird. It referred to the fact that a mother would sacrifice her life to protect her young. It refers to the ultimate gift of God sacrificing his son to save our sins. The second gift, 2 turtle doves, stood for the Old and New Testaments of the Bible. I did not know that. The third gift, 3 French hens, referred to because at that time there were very costly items. They stood for faith, hope, and love. Next, 4 calling birds were the 4 Gospels that begin the New Testament. Oh boy. The 5 golden rings, called the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament. 6 geese a-laying were the 6 days of creation. If you know your Bible's verses, 7 swans a swimming represented the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, that being prophecy, service, teaching, encouraging, giving, leadership, and mercy. 8 maids a milking, were the Beatitudes, referring to the common man. At the time, people who worked with animals were the lowest class. 9 ladies dancing, what could that stand for? Were the 9 truths of the Holy Spirit. They are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. These are referred to in Galatians 5, when we did Bible school about these. This is Hurt now reading. We had a bear we named. His name was Loy Packhoofenson. See, if you figure out how we got that name, hint, it helped us remember the fruits of the Spirit. 10 Lords a Leaping. Now this is all from Ann Swanson. 10 Lords a Leaping were the 10 Commandments. Oh, that's kind of an easy one to remember. 11 Pipers Piping, I have no idea. Referred to the 11 faithful disciples. Oh, that's right, because Judas had betrayed Jesus for 40 pieces of silver. Started out with 12, down to 11. 12 drummers drumming. Symbolize the 12 points of belief in the Apostles' Creed. And she says, I do not know about you, but I will never sing this song again without realizing the symbolism. What an ingenious way to teach children without breaking the law. So anyways, there you go, the 12 days of Christmas. I guess I won't ever think about the 12 days of Christmas again without thinking about what each one of those stand for. All 12 of those. Well, Mom, I hope you heard that one. If she heard it, that'd be pretty cool. All right. Announcement time. Mabel, the Chautauqua Office for Aging Services is pleased to announce starting Friday, that was yesterday, December 20th, the distribution of free National Fuel weatherization kits designed to help Western New Yorkers save money on heating bills this winter. With colder months already upon us, these kits are an excellent resource for residents to prepare for the challenges of winter weather. This is what the kit contains. Window insulation shrink film. If you've got a window that's drafty, you put this thing up there and it cuts the breeze right down. Justin, you used to have a window that was a little bit breezy, as I recall, in the old days, huh? A heat and air deflector. I think you put that over your registers, I think. Vinyl foam weather seal. I had to do one of my doors at home. You would have thought a relatively new house would be fine. Well, sometimes the things get old and dry. Put that all around your doorway and it keeps the cold air out. Electric outlet sealers. You'd be surprised if you put your hand next to an outlet, do you feel a little air coming through there once in a while? All right, according to our friend Dana Corrill, who's been on the show many times, she says, we're thrilled to partner with National Fuel to bring these valuable weatherization kits to the community. Staying warm and reducing heating costs is critical during the winter months, and these kits provide an easy and effective way to achieve both. While we are already experiencing a taste of winter, more is undoubtedly on the way, and we encourage residents to take advantage of this opportunity. So what's the deal? The Office for Aging Services has a total of 400 kits available, which will be distributed excuse me, on a first-come, first-served basis. Okay, how do you get it? Here we go. If you live near Mayville, you go to the Clothier Building at 7 North Erie Street and check it out there. If you go to Jamestown, it's 107 Institute Street, Suite 201 over in Jamestown. If you are in Dunkirk area, Dunkirk Senior Citizen at 45 Cliff Star Court in Dunkirk. Residents are encouraged to collect their kit while supplies last, there is a limited amount per household. Got some questions? Give them a call at 716-753-4582. Isn't that the New York number that we always pop up, Jeff? I can't remember. New York Connects, 753-4582. She says they're deeply grateful. There it is. All right, 716-753-4582. We are deeply grateful to National Fuel for the generosity and commitment to supporting our community, says Corwin. These kits represent a proactive step towards keeping our homes comfortable and safe throughout the harsh winter season. Okay, and just as a reminder, the Chautauqua County Office for Aging Services remains dedicated to providing essential resources and support to older adults, individuals with disabilities, and caregivers throughout the region. This initiative is another example of how the agency is working to meet the needs of the community. All right, moving along. Our friends over in Jamestown are doing a cool play at the Robert H. Jackson Center. It's called It's a Wonderful Life, a live radio play. As you know, we were going to do this up in Westfield, but we got snowed out. But this is way cool. They're doing it today, the 21st, at 2 p.m. and at 7 p.m. and again tomorrow at 2 p.m. All right, so the Robert Jackson Center is at 305 East 4th Street. Beautiful venue. Okay, now this is how it works, because I've been in this show a number of times, and a lot of people don't quite understand it until you explain it a little bit. This is a live audience theatrical production of America's favorite holiday story, It's a Wonderful Life. Remember Jimmy Stewart and all those people? This heartfelt, joyful classic featuring a fantastic cast of 7 actors and singers and a sound effects maestro will transport you into the 1940s imaginary radio station, decked out in wonderful Christmas decorations. Okay, so it's at the Robert H. Jackson Center. You can check them out over there. So you can call them for tickets and so forth. They've got a website here, but I can't quite figure out how to explain it to you. So I would just encourage you to contact the Robert Jackson Center for tickets, okay? I highly recommend it. I saw the cast. They're from all over the place. I mean, down in New York City, people off Broadway, really cool. I'm just sad we were able to do our production. We've been doing it since 2015, and it's just a lot of fun to watch an old-timey radio show doing It's a Wonderful Life. Okay, we are going to tell you about Santa at the Chautauqua Mall. If you haven't had the kiddies out to see Santa yet, you can do that today from 1 to 5 or tomorrow from 1 to 4 at the Chautauqua Mall, right there on Fairmount Avenue. It says, capture the magic of the season with Santa photos at Chautauqua Mall. Visit Santa's set in Center Court for a fun photo experience. Did you write your letters to Santa yet? Letters in a mailbox to the North Pole located in the Center Court. If you provide a return address with your letter by Sunday, oh, that's too late. I was going to say there was something else they were doing. But anyway, so you can get over there. It can be lots of festivities and lots of fun. I'm sure they're going to have music playing, and it seems like a good time. Okay, and last thing I want to share with you is there's something called Homemade Gift Christmas Workshop. It's going to be held at Handcrafted from the Heart right here in Mayville at 38 South Erie Street. And handmade gifts are so much fun to give and to receive, so we invite you to join them today at their workshop that will focus on projects that are giftable. So that's today at Handmade Gift Christmas Workshop at Handcrafted from the Heart at 38 South East. No, 38 South, there is no East. 38 South Erie Street in Mayville. Okay, well that wraps up my announcements as far as I know. So we're going to take a breather. This commercial is for you, this break, and we'll be right back. Can't remember. It was a few weeks ago. I was reading the Post Journal and I came across an article and a picture of an author, and her name is Rebecca Cuthbert, And I was reading about it, and I thought, well, first of all, I've never heard of Rebecca before. And secondly, I love to have authors on here because I like to promote local writers. And she has a genre that's something we haven't covered before. So, with no further ado, I want to welcome Rebecca Cuthbert to the show. And how are you this morning?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thanks for coming to the show today. This is your first time with us. And where did you come in from?
I came in from Dunkirk this morning, and it was a fairly good drive. I was telling Doc that I did get stuck behind a salt truck for a little bit, but I made it. I'm here.
You know, we just can't be pleased in this world. We complain about potholes, and then we complain about them filling the potholes. We complain about the roads not being plowed, and then we get behind snow plows that are going all of like 25 miles an hour and pitching stuff on our windshields. There's just no pleasingness. Welcome to the winter time in Chautauqua County. Well, we're glad you're here, Rebecca. And the article was very interesting. And so how did you happen to get written up in the Post-Journal?
So honestly, it's because John DiAgostino is still a friend of mine.
Okay.
So,
and John is the main editor of,
Yes.
the two papers, I believe, right?
Yes, and I worked for him for a bit. So I was a reporter at the Observer between 2015 and 2017. And he is still so nice to me because when I have something going on, I send it right to him and he makes sure to run it for me.
Well, I don't want to beat up Jack, but nice is not always the term people refer to Jack, because he's tough. I've talked to Jack, and he's a hard-nosed editor and writer.
He is a very kind person, and I think you just have to get to know him a little bit to know that.
I do know that, but I know I've talked to other people saying, "Wow, he really grilled and drilled me." Well, that's what
that's
you're
his
supposed
job.
to do. You're supposed to do. You're supposed to get the facts, and sometimes you got to dig and answer questions that maybe you're not comfortable with. So, Jack, if you're watching and listening, keep up the good work. So, Rebecca, were you born and raised in Dunkirk? I mean, are you from
I
there?
was born in Buffalo, but raised in Silver Creek.
Oh.
So I lived there, graduated from Silver Creek High School, moved to the state of Georgia for a bit, graduated from the University of West Georgia, came back home, lived in Fredonia for a bit, then went to grad school in West Virginia, in Morgantown, at WVU.
Oh, just across the border, really.
Yeah, it's about 4 hours away. And I got my MFA in fiction.
Whoa, what's that mean?
Masters of Fine Arts.
Oh, okay.
And moved home again and bought a house with my husband, Joel, and started to teach creative writing classes at SUNY Fredonia.
So you're on staff?
I am. Yep, I've worked there for a long time, about 10 years in total.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Well, very good. I was thinking about coming over, when I was coming over today, I said, this is going to be a fun interview because I don't know anything about you. And, because then it gives me an opportunity to ask lots of questions. Sometimes I'll have a guest on that I've had a couple times, and I kind of know the answers to my questions already. So this is going to be great. So you've been in Fredonia. So what do you teach at Fredonia?
I teach Introduction to Creative Writing. I also teach intermediate fiction writing, speculative fiction writing.
Speculative. We'll have to talk about that here in a minute.
And soon I will also be teaching literature courses. So American fictions is on the slate for next year.
Cool. So what is speculative fiction?
Speculative fiction is what I write. So speculative fiction is anything that is not realism. So some of the genres within the sort of umbrella genre of speculative fiction include fantasy and sci-fi and horror and magical realism and superhero fiction, fairy tales, stuff like that.
Wow. I bet that's a well-attended class.
It's all the fun stuff, I gotta say. It's all the fun stuff.
How did you get started writing to start with? I mean, obviously that's a question people always ask all of us. How did you get started and whatever? So when you were little, did you think you were going to be a writer? Or?
No, I used to want to be a TV reporter a long time ago.
You've arrived.
Here I am. So I always loved reading, though. The library was my favorite place as a kid. I still love reading. Read almost every day if I can have the time. And I always liked writing too, and I was always, fairly good at writing. I got good grades in my writing classes. And I got my Bachelor of Arts degree is in literature. Didn't really know necessarily what I was going to do with that. And so then I decided that I was going to pursue it further. So that's why I went to grad school for writing. And fiction is sort of my home genre. I do write poetry, I do write nonfiction, but fiction is like my most comfortable home. And then I went into teaching, and writing fell away for a while because I was just busy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for a while I was working at the university and the newspaper at the same time. So that was tough. And I've always had other jobs like doing editing work and stuff like that. So I did just get away from it for a while because my energy was being spent elsewhere. But then, like a lot of people during the pandemic lockdown in 2020, you know, we all just kind of stared at the wall and contemplated our life choices, you know, because, you know, you spend a lot of time with yourself during the lockdown. And I realized that I really wanted to get back into writing, and I had the time. And so I got together with a few friends from grad school, still in touch, and we started to do writing workshops. You know, the five of us would get together and we would get on Zoom, you know, and we would trade stories and essays and poems around. And from there, I went all in. I took every writing workshop I could, you know, anything that was online, anything virtual. I made friends. I decided in 2022 that I was going to join an organization called the Horror Writers Association.
Wait a minute, you said horror?
Horror.
As in scary?
Scary stuff, yep. The HWA. And
wait a minute, HWA?
The HWA.
Horror Writers Association?
Yep.
Wow,
And
I've never heard of that before.
I want to say that they're a super welcoming group because I don't write super scary, super gory stuff, but they let almost anyone in, obviously. So
you're talking like Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
Oh, wow!
I love Beetlejuice.
I obviously have hit a note here.
Yeah.
We only say it twice here. We don't go to the third time.
That's smart of you. And so usually I'm kind of introverted, but in 2022, I was like, you know, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it all the way. And so I decided to go to their annual party, which is called StokerCon, named after Bram Stoker.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So,
Frankenstein.
Yep, they had it in a different location. They have it in a different location every year. That year it was in Denver, Colorado.
Now, hold on, StokerCon?
StokerCon. Yep.
I'm learning all kinds of things here today. StokerCon.
By the end of this, I might get you to join up. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I don't know anybody, total stranger. I'm just going to go to Denver.
Jump right in here.
And I'm going to make some friends, and I did.
Wow.
And that was
I thought you
great.
said you were introverted.
I have my moments. And so made a bunch of friends, joined more things, you know, and just really got into it since then. I got my first book, which is this one way over here. It's a collection of poetry.
Okay, hang on. We're gonna highlight that here. Just a jiffy. Is amazing. The power of the camera here. All right, here we come, and we're gonna zoom in here. Now this is spooky.
Yes and no. It's some of it is dark poetry, but I have a bunch of happy poems in there.
Now this is the first book with the individual in the hood.
In Memory of Exoskeletons is the name of the collection. That's also a name of one of the poems.
Exoskeleton is like, don't tell me, it's like an armadillo. It has a skeleton on the outside as well as like insects and things like that.
Yep.
So we're not exoskeletons. We're whatever they call us, an inside skeleton.
Yeah, we've got them on the inside.
Okay.
But that protective shell is called a carapace. So, you know, it makes sense if you read the poem and the collection is named after the one poem.
Okay. So who's your audience for that particular book?
I think a little bit of everybody. I have had, you know, older people, younger people, men, women, people who don't usually like poetry. I think it's a really accessible collection. I think a lot of people, and in my experience, I get this from a lot of my students, they are sort of afraid of poetry, or they turn away from poetry because they think it needs to be like obtuse and
What do you mean by that?
confusing. You know,
Oh,
they
oh.
think it needs to be, they think you need a PhD to be able to read it and enjoy it. And you don't, you know. You can write a poem about anything. You do not have to use big words. Nothing has to rhyme, you know. You can just write a poem
You're
to
breaking all the rules.
yes, break all the rules, for sure. You know, so there's a poem in there about how I love to cook and I love to garden and I love to spend time with my niece, you know, my nieces and nephews. And so it's kind of a poem reclaiming the kitchen arts for feminism, you know, that you're not anti-feminist if you like to cook. You know, that it's very powerful to be able to grow something and to make something and feed the people you love. That is being strong. So that's one of the poems in there. Another poem is...
So what you're saying in your poem, it's like, it's okay to do these things.
Yes.
And it's not the old concept of being pregnant and barefoot and staying
Right,
home.
right.
If you want to cook, cook.
Cook.
If you want to raise vegetables, go for it.
And I love to do those things.
It's not a sign of weakness.
No, it's fun and it's an art form.
I
You
do
know,
all those things.
It's a way to be creative. So so that's in there. And another poem that tends to be like a fan favorite is about dogs.
Oh, absolutely.
And inspired on my drive to work one day, I passed a cemetery and it had a big sign outside and it said, "No dog walking allowed." And I just was upset by that because I thought, if and when, because it's going to happen, when I'm in the ground, I would love to have a dog visit my grave. And so the poem is just sort of in defiance of that sign and in celebration of dogs and how we just don't deserve them.
I'm guessing you have dogs?
I have a dog. I have had many dogs, and I volunteer at the Lakeshore Humane Society.
Cool.
So I am definitely a dog person, though I have a cat too. And he is from Lakeshore Humane Society.
Cool. Yeah, you saw Brody in the beginning. Brody has been giving me fits. He keeps eating foods he shouldn't be eating. Like at Christmas time, I was telling the story how he got in a box of chocolate.
Oh, yep.
And then the other day, he got into garlic. These aren't things that are good for dogs.
No.
Hopefully, and he's going to be fine. But, you know, Justin sat Brody for a while. He's a character. You know, he's like a thief. What kind of dog do you have?
Right now, we have an elderly beagle.
Okay.
And she was adopted through Northern Chautauqua Canine Rescue
Right,
in
down the road.
Westfield.
Yeah.
But they pulled her up from Kentucky. So she's a Southern gal who now lives in New York.
Brody's a Tibetan Terrier, and he's really like a Tibetan thief. I just don't know how he gets around. If I walk out the door and I don't secure the garbage can, he's like a magician. How the heck did you get all that garbage out of that can so fast?
They're crafty.
I had to invent a special way to lock the thing, and the other day I forgot to lock it down, and well, he got into food he shouldn't have gotten into.
Athena would do more if she were taller. She's too short. She's too short to reach.
Oh, that's too funny. But dogs are great. I love
Yes,
dogs.
they are.
You said you like to cook. What's your area of
I
cooking?
do love to cook. I love to cook and I love to bake, and I'm not the best at it, you know. But I got into it. So my mother died when I was a little kid. And so part of it, I think, was just necessity. You know, learn to cook. And everybody should learn to cook. It's not a girl thing or a boy thing. It's learn to cook because it's a life skill and you need to eat food, you know?
Pretty much, yeah.
So learn to cook. And so I love to cook. I love trying new recipes. I love baking. And I also love to garden. And so if you love to garden, you soon realize that you must do something with all of these vegetables you're growing. Because like, you think, oh, I'm going to put in 10 tomato plants. You're going to have an awful lot of tomatoes.
Way too many tomatoes.
With 10 tomato plants. And so I learned how to make salsa. So I make homemade salsa every year, and that's like the gift all my friends want for Christmas.
Right.
And I make pickles. I make...
Bread and butter?
No, dill.
Dill.
Spicy dill.
Watermelon. Jeff just asked, do you do watermelon pickles?
I do not. I do not.
That's a negative on that, Jeff.
Yep, just good old crunchy dill spicy pickles. And I grow the cucumbers. And
How was your season this past season? It was terrible as far as I know.
I had the best cucumber season. I tell you, they just grew and grew.
Well, we had almost a drought in Ripley. I mean, it was
That's a
terribly
bummer.
dry, and things hardly grew at all. And I like to garden too.
Yeah. Something that has saved us a ton of money is that we have 2 rain barrels.
Oh,
You know, one
yep.
set up on the side of the house, one set up on the side of the garage. And it's a little extra work, which is probably good for me because it's a little exercise carrying those 3 and 5 gallon watering cans, whatever they are. And so we have pretty reliable water. You know, they do go dry at certain times, and then unfortunately we got to use the hose and spend money on it. But most of the summer we get through with the rain barrels.
Okay, so salsa, pickles. So
Salsa, pickles, jam,
what kind of jam? I do blueberry.
all the kinds of jam. So black raspberries grow at my father's house.
Great.
So my sister Kristen and I, along with my brother Eric and Eric's wife Jenna, we learned how to make jam.
It's fun.
It is fun, and we have such a great area for local fruit.
Absolutely
You know,
true.
so like every year, go to Erdel Farms, get your blueberries. You know, strawberries when they're in season. I try to can a bunch of those. So,
Okay, hold on.
oops,
Okay,
I lost my.
we're gonna take a little break here. Come over to me. We have a little.
Sorry, everybody.
Oh, it's okay. Justin to the rescue.
Justin, I need you.
Yep, he's coming. Well, as we're putting our mechanical pieces back together again, I do blueberries, and we have tons of blueberries at my house. And my wife does what she calls freezer jam, and all these years we just make the strawberry jam solution and put it in jars and put it in the freezer. And she didn't realize that she could actually process them like you would regular jam and just put them up in the cupboard. And so I actually went off on my own to learn how to make jams and jellies. And so I've done peach and blueberry, blackberry, those kinds of things. And isn't it wonderful? In my case, I just go out in the yard and get the fruit and then process that right in the house. I like to make my own applesauce from my own apples and things like that. And that's such a good feeling, you know, and especially when people say, your applesauce is awesome, you know, and it came from my trees.
And after you start to make your own, you don't like the store-bought stuff anymore.
No.
Like it tastes like chemicals.
Yeah.
You know, so like I don't. I'm such a snob, you know, now because I don't even expensive jams. Like I don't want that. It doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
Same thing with applesauce. Same thing with pickles. Same thing with salsa. And also same thing, like once you start making soups and once you start making desserts, it's like you just never want to go back to the store.
So if you had some friends coming over your house, what would be your famous Rebecca meal?
So I am really good at soup. It might be a soup.
Okay.
But I also like to occasionally, it's just a lot of work, I like to make chicken parmesan. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I like to try new things, but chili, I make really good chili. And I also try to use ingredients from the garden. Like if
Perfect.
I have just a glut of tomatoes and no room in the freezer, because my freezer is also full of tomatoes that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna deal with those soon, but they're still there.
So when you're cooking, baking, whatever, picking your crops, are you thinking about your next book?
Sometimes. And I do have, you know, so I've got poems that have to do with, you know, gardening and cooking. And I've got stories, you know, that I incorporate gardening into.
Yeah.
Because the things you do in your life are just going to find their way in because that's familiar territory for you.
You know, my brother pointed out to me one day that Paul McCartney, so many of his songs have the theme of a bird. And I thought, what are you talking about? And then I went back and looked at the Beatle anthology, and there's a lot of situations where they talk about a bluebird, a blackbird, you know, just different things. Or in the background, you'll hear that, and I hadn't realized it. So it's kind of interesting. You said that you incorporate even gardening into your storylines.
Yep.
So you have this other book, Ray Justin, called "Creep This Way." What's that all about? You said that's probably one of your more popular books.
Yeah, that one has sold fairly well, and it's kind of funny because that's never that wasn't a book I ever intended to write. A friend of mine, Chris Ryan, has a small publishing house called Seamus and Nunzio Productions. And he contacted me in the fall of 23. And he said, I have an idea for a book and I think you should write it. And so that was,
Don't
and
you
I
love that? Sure, no problem.
I
I'll
was
get right
just,
on it.
you know, trying to enjoy my coffee that morning. I didn't know I was going to be faced with this offer, you know, at 8 a.m. or whatever. And so I said, well, sure, you know, why not? And by the afternoon, I had chapters outlined. I was throwing stuff at him. He didn't know what he was getting into with me. You know, if I'm going to do something, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So we had that written and edited. We were throwing chapters back and forth. You know, I would write one, throw it to him for editing. He would edit. He would get it back to me. And so it was just constant back and forth for about 3 months. And then it published in January of this year.
Wow. So what's in it? What's it about?
It talks about the practical side of getting into writing. And I know that I tend to write spookier stuff, which people could tell by my book covers, even if they didn't read them. But it applies to people who really just want to get into writing. And it's more about how to get comfortable on social media, how to look for opportunities to publish, how to deal with rejections, because that's a huge part of being a writer. And if you can't handle rejections, you're not going to get very far. You have to get used to them, you know, and you just have to reframe the way you think about them.
So this is a how-to book.
It's a how-to, and it's the practical stuff, you know. So there is a bit of craft there. There's a bit of craft, like the writing itself. But a lot of it, most of it, is just kind of how to be a writer in the world, how to make friends, how to build community, because writing can be very lonely. When you're doing the work, you're in a chair by yourself, often in a room by yourself. And so it really talks about how to make the best of life as a writer. Yeah.
It can be a lonely process sometimes.
It definitely can be. You have to make friends and find your support.
I shared with you that I write for the Post-Journal, a monthly column, and many people who are watching probably have read it, because I know that people have told me they've read it. It's called From Out of the West. And the Post-Journal has been very good to me as far as they don't tell me what to do, which is hard. It's easier, like you said, someone calls you up and says, here's an idea, I want you to write it. I can do that. I do the research or whatever it is. But in this case, I get sometimes what they call, you know, it's the famous writer's block. And I get a whole 1,000 words to write this column every month. And every once in a while, it's sort of like I'm sitting at my computer going like, And I go, this is a dumb idea. And all of a sudden another idea pops up. I saved the first idea and I park it, right? You ever do that?
Yep.
And because sometimes an idea just isn't ready to come out yet. And so, have you ever done this where you're walking along and all of a sudden you see the whole article, the whole book, the whole story, and there it is. I know J.R. Rowlings. Is it J.R. Rowlings? J.K. Rowlings. I got Harry Potter. She said she saw the whole story all at once, and then just wrote it in pieces. And I go, wow, that's pretty incredible.
Very rarely do I see the whole story at once. There is a story, and it is included in not one of these, but it's my 5th book. It's going to be out in January.
Oh, that's announcement time.
Yes, it's called 6 O'Clock House and Other Strange Tales.
6 O'Clock House? Okay.
And there's a story there. It's the last one in the collection. It's called Damp in the Walls.
Ooh.
And that is one of the only stories I've ever seen in totality before I wrote it. It almost felt like it wrote itself, because I knew right away what was going to happen. But for a lot of stories, I just have to find my way through as I am writing.
So are you going to give us a little hint what it's about?
Okay, so that's a collection of literary, speculative, and dark magical realism stories. So none of them are strictly realism.
Okay.
So I do have a few stories with ghosts in them. I do have some like strange happenings where something turns into another thing. One story is about a farm that reincarnates itself, Polaroid by Polaroid. So if people are into a sort of bent reality. They're all very grounded. None of them are pure fantasy, so none of them take place in, Middle Earth or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's our world. It's just our world sort of bent or slanted.
Well, and I don't have to tell you this. You get on TV and onto the whatever DirecTV or whatever the or Hulu or Netflix or whatever they're called, and there's so many paranormal shows, and so this fits really into that world, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you are into ghost stories, pick up 6 O'Clock House. I've got a few.
I'm trying to think. Just before Halloween, I had the Jamestown Paranormal group here, and they, I'm sure, would have quite a few stories for you. And so the question is yelling in my head right now is, so where are you on paranormal? Where are you on ghosts? I mean, is this just something you say, hey, everybody talks about it, I'll write about it, or are you okay with all that?
As in, do I believe in ghosts?
You answered my question with a question.
We'll look right at the camera. Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm good with that.
I think that there are too many anecdotal pieces of evidence.
Yeah.
And I know they're anecdotal, and some people will say, well, that's not evidence. If it's
Yeah, how do you prove something that's invisible?
Right?
Yeah.
And I do love science. I do believe in science. I'm not a science denier, and I know the world is round and all of that, I even passed all the science classes I've taken. But I also think that maybe there are some things science can't prove, but it doesn't mean it's not real.
Mm-hmm. To be determined.
To be determined, yeah.
Right. And I think I've read the statistics. I forgot. It's like 60, 70% of the people are there.
And if you don't, and then something happens, you do real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's something that I think people might change their mind about.
Right.
Sometimes.
And I've had lots of experiences, and I'm fine with all that. And a lot of people have them. They don't talk about it, and they quietly go about their lives, and it's fine. Mm-hmm. Other people, they talk about it, and they make everybody crazy. Mm-hmm. So you gotta just try to find a happy balance as far as paranormal. So which book is this now? This is.
Talk about
the new book.
The new book. That's 6 O'Clock House.
6 O'Clock House.
6 O'Clock House and Other Strange Tales, and that's out January 21st from Water Tower Hill Publishing.
Okay, so while we're at it, how do you get a hold of any of these books?
So they are all available on places like Amazon. Go on barnesandnoble.com. You can also go to the publishers' websites themselves. And you can also go to my website, which is just my name, so it's easy to remember. It's RebeccaCuthbert.com. And if you click on books, I have all of my books there with links to where you can get them.
Okay, we have a phone call. We'll be back to these books. So, good morning, caller.
Oh, good morning, Jack. This is Linda.
Hi.
Good morning, Rebecca. I'm very excited and enthused about your paranormal stories.
Thank you.
She's a great reader. She loves books.
You could probably sell if you want to sell your books, in person. I know the Chautauqua bookstore takes a lot of local authors.
Thank you very much. I'm going to contact them.
Who would she talk to there? Do you have a name?
Earl.
Okay.
Earl Rothfuss. Earl Rothfuss.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
He sells all the local authors are there, and it's nice to see that because there's some great stories. So, and he's my cousin too. So.
I'm going to tell him you sent me.
All you gotta say is Linda said to call you.
Linda said I could.
You're well connected, Linda. So how are you? Got all your cookies made, all ready for the holidays?
Well, I'm going to be making some cookies. I'm going to be sending some cards out today. My gifts have all been sent out last week. Mm-hmm. So, and I, it's a wonderful event. It's a beautiful time.
Sure is.
Especially for spirituality.
Right.
And Rebecca, I believe in the spirit world.
Good.
It's just another realm of existence.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, what else is going on, Lynn?
Well,
people coming.
I shouldn't say this. Last night was very pretty, and it's pretty this morning. But I'm already sick of this stuff. And so,
I'm good. Let's move on to spring. Well, we got an early snow. That's what kind of beat us up.
Well, the early snow isn't so bad as it was so icy.
Yes.
It was rain, freezing ice, and then it got so bitterly cold. Like it was like 3 above zero at my house here in the beginning of December. I don't like, my dogs don't like it either. They hide when it's time to go out.
No, my dog Brody, he's Tibetan, so he's used to the Himalaya mountains, his breed, and he just dives in there. I sometimes can't even find him.
Yeah,
He's like,
I know. Huskies are like that, and all those dogs. I had a poodle that was like that.
Mm-hmm.
He used to love it, and he used to dive into the snow.
Is this the piano player?
Yeah. No, he's not the piano player.
Oh, okay. She has a dog that plays the piano.
Yeah, his name was Peppy. He was very, very, very smart, and he had ESP. I could write a book about him.
You should.
Yeah. He was a smart dog.
Oh, yeah.
He lived to be 18.
Wow, that's really old for a dog. All right.
But anyway, I want to get your book, and good luck with everything, Rebecca, and with you, Doc. And you have a very Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah and Christmas are on the same day this year, the beginning of Hanukkah, which is doesn't always happen.
That's true, and they're on a Wednesday, in the middle of the week. All right, Lynn, you have a great Christmas and holidays as well, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
All right. I don't even know, we were talking about the paranormal and so forth. So the new book is going to be 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock house.
You know what that reminds me? As soon as you said that movie, The Clock in the Wall, Clock in the, it was with Jack Black. What the heck's it called? That's a long story. Anyways, there's a movie and I like to watch it every once in a while. And Clock in the Wall, I think that's what it's called. It's kind of one of those sci-fi spooky kinds of things. But a lot of fun.
I want to say for folks looking, it's the word 6. Not the number 6. So, yeah, so that'll make a difference as a keyword.
6 o'clock
6 o'clock house.
All right, so there's a little clue. All right, so what else you got for us here?
So I also wanted to mention my children's book, which is pretty much brand new. This came out just in mid-November. And it is illustrated by one of my former students, which is so cool.
Okay, so let's get a close-up on this.
Okay.
Justin, the wizard here. And you're going to show us a few pictures, maybe?
Sure. So trying to get the glare off. There we go. It's illustrated by Dakota Markart, and she is just so talented.
And where's she from?
She is from the Rochester area, and she graduated from SUNY Fredonia a few years ago in, she has an animation and illustration degree. And she just did such a beautiful job. The publisher, his name is Jason, and it's Malediction and AEA Press.
Okay.
So Jason is the publisher of AEA Press, and he and I are of a similar age, and we grew up watching old Scooby-Doo. You know, like the 1960s, 70s Hanna-Barbera illustration and how pretty that was, like the beautiful hand-painted backgrounds, you know, of that time. And so we both were like, that's what we want for this. Okay. And Dakota just did such a beautiful job.
So if this was Scooby-Doo, that would definitely fit because they're always going into those forests and those woods.
Yes.
And what's the title of this book again?
This is Down in the Dark Deep Where the Puddlers Dwell.
Puddlers.
Puddlers.
Okay,
yes.
And this is for kids.
It is for kids. I can't show you a picture of the puddlers. That's in my contract. You got to buy the book if you want to see what these guys look like.
We won't break your contract.
But I mean, the illustrations are just.
It's kind of hard to catch the whole thing, but there we go. Yeah, you gotta maybe turn the book down a little bit.
It's very. There we can really see it.
Yeah.
I mean, she just did such a gorgeous job. The book is worth it even for the illustrations alone.
So is this a book the children would read or be read to, or both?
Both. You know, roughly kids like 3 to 10, but we think that because of the artwork, because of the story, we think that it's something that everyone could enjoy.
Okay.
All ages. And this is the first of 6. So there will be 5 more to follow this with AEA Press.
So this is just the first of 6.
This is the first of 6.
And you have this all laid out in your mind on where this is all going?
Most of these are all written.
So are there characters in this story?
You're a character in this story.
I am?
Yeah, so it's.
You didn't tell me that.
I did. It's a secret.
Oh,
not anymore,
gosh.
I guess. I just told you. It's written in second person, so it makes the reader the protagonist.
Okay.
And so it's you taking a bit of a spooky journey.
Cool.
Yeah. And then our next book is called High Up on Witch Mountain, and that is going to be out in October of 2025. Dakota is again doing all of the illustrations for the other books, though she's going to do a little bit of a different style for each one.
So this sounds to me like this could be a really Christmas, a birthday, a special event kind of present.
Yes.
Kids are into these?
And so far, I've had really a great response from kids. I did a reading at Story Hour at the Barker Library in Fredonia. Bunch of little kids came, and the bravest one was a 3-year-old girl who just couldn't get enough of it. And she told me that she would get away from the puddlers on her pink scooter, that she's very fast. And I said, well, that's great.
She had a plan. And
she had a whole plan. It was great.
So getting back to 6 o'clock house, Justin looked up, it's called A House with a Clock in Its Walls.
Oh.
And if you watch it, it's really cool. But it's sort of along the same lines, you know, it's scary, it's spooky, but not terribly scary. It's just kind of a fun, crazy movie.
Yeah, fun, spooky.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. So what was your inspiration for the puddlers?
So this is kind of a weird story, but I don't sleep super well. So I'm up in the middle of the night a lot, just kind of, you know, staring at the ceiling. And I got this phrase in my head, and it's the title of the book, you know, Down in the Dark Deep Where the Puddlers Dwell. And I thought, well, what the heck is a puddler? I don't know. Just like came to my brain in the middle of the night. And it was still there in the morning. And so I started to write more lines, and soon I realized it was a children's book, which I'd never written before, and I never really intended to go into children's book writing. But I put kind of a cheeky post on Facebook that just said, I'm writing a spooky children's book. If any publishers are interested, go ahead and message me. And Jason, I already knew Jason, but Jason messaged me about 5 minutes later. And within a week, you know, we had puddlers set up, and we had more on the way.
Holy cow. Without self-promotion, last year, last year, I actually wrote a Christmas children's story, and I thought I could read it to the audience like in, you know, the time frame of this show. It ended up being just like 1.5 shows long, and it was nonstop reading. That was the longest show I ever did in my life, reading my own story. But it was sort of fantasy stuff, but not great, not spooky, but just fun. So I get it. You know, when you want to write a kid's book, it's a little different.
It definitely is.
Well, believe it or not, we've had a great talk here. We're down to like 1.5 minutes. So, Rebecca Cuthbert, you have the last 1.5 minutes to talk about your books, how to get them, and anything you want people to know.
Okay, so I would just ask that folks go to my website as kind of a one-stop that takes you everywhere else you might want to go. So RebeccaCuthbert.com. Okay, I link to the AEA Press website for puddlers, where the book is a bit cheaper than it is on Amazon.
So how much are we talking?
$15 for the hardcover. $12 for the soft cover.
That's very, very reasonable these days.
And I will be today in Lakewood as part of Christmas in the Village. I will be at the group They're Happy restaurant from 1 to 2:30 as part of the Human Library event. And I will be selling my books there. So if anybody is interested, they can stop down today and pick one up.
All right. So, and you got a book coming out in January, you said. And the name of that one is?
6 O'Clock House and Other Strange Tales.
All right, and they can find them on Amazon or wherever, or go to your website.
Yep.
What's the website again?
RebeccaCuthbert.com.
All one word?
Yep.
RebeccaCuthbert.com.
And the same publisher who is doing 6 O'Clock House is going to put out a novel trilogy. So my first novel will be out in 2026, and it is called Beth Bites Back.
Okay. Well, we'll have to stay tuned for that. Well, we're just about out of time. I thank you so much for coming. This has been a lot of fun. And I'm in your book, for real.
Read it, you'll see.
Well, all right, folks, it's a wrap. This is our last show before Christmas and Hanukkah and the holidays. I wish you only the very best this holiday stretch and season, and have a great time and be peaceful in your heart. We'll see you next week with the crew, where we do our predictions and reflections of 2024. That's our show. I bring all the guys on. So stay warm, stay happy, eat eat a couple extra cookies, and we'll see you next week, same time, 9 to 10, right here on XS Chautauqua, Spectrum 1301. Bye-bye now.